Hola, this is just a little video to help you to prep the photo card element of the speaking exam. So you may have seen my video on the role play. That is the first part of the exam, and this is the second element of the speaking, and then you'll go on to do the conversation. So you have 12 minutes preparation time. And in that 12 minutes preparation time, you will need to prepare the role play and the photo card. I would recommend you doing the role play first because that may take you less than 6 minutes. And then you've got the remaining time to prepare the photo card. However, I would just try and stick to the 6 minutes that are there because then you can spend 2 minutes preparing the first question here, and then 2 minutes preparing this second question, and then 2 minutes preparing the final question. I've known of a lot of people who've come in to the exam and they haven't had time to prepare the second two questions because they've just focused on ¿Qué hay en la foto? And then they run out of time. So make sure you plan your time accordingly to how much you need to say. So this is all about, and you do need to look here at the context. So this is related to free time activities, and that will give you a clue as to what the other two questions are that you don't know yet, that are after the three questions that are here. So the first question is always ¿Qué hay en la foto? And then you need to then therefore say that en la foto hay always start with en la foto hay, and then you can go on to give detail about what is in the photo. So you could say, for example, a la izquierda, on the left, a la derecha, on the right, en el fondo, in the background. And then you can say how many people there are. You could say that there is a group of friends, un grupo de amigos. You could say, for example, that they seem happy. You could say parecen contentos. And then you could go on to use the present continuous tense. So, están jugando al voleibol. Están jugando en la playa. Están hablando. Están sonriendo, for they are smiling. Están jugando en el sol. Okay. And then you can mention the key things that are in the photo. Pause is a key thing, PAWS, and that stands for people, action, weather, and situation. And they are some key things. If you go blank in the exam, they are key things to talk about. You can't always mention the weather because sometimes it's indoors. For example, in the cinema, you don't know what the weather's doing, and the photo will always be black and white. So you sometimes can't tell, but you can tell by what they're wearing. So you could say, for example, creo que, I believe that, or pienso que, I think that, hace sol y es verano, or hace frío y es invierno, porque hay nieve, because there's snow, and say what the weather's like. The second question will vary, and that will refer to what the topic is. So this is again talking about free time activities. So we have here, en tu opinión, es importante pasar tiempo con amigos? Is it important to spend time with friends? So then you're not just answering the question, you're going into detail and you're really showing off your Spanish. The examiner doesn't want to hear your teacher speaking, they want to hear you. So don't just answer the question. Please don't just say sí or no. You need to go into detail why. You can give your own opinion and say, for example, what you like to do with your friends or what you don't, whether you don't think it's important to spend time with friends. And then you can say somebody else's opinion. Okay, so you could say, for example, en mi opinión es muy importante pasar tiempo con amigos porque es divertido, porque es relajante, porque es guay, porque es la bomba, for it's awesome. And then you can then go on to say that somebody else doesn't think that it's important because maybe, I don't know, you should be doing schoolwork. So you could say, for example, sin embargo, mi abuelo piensa que no es importante pasar tiempo con amigos porque Tengo que repasar para los exámenes because I have to revise for my exams. So say what you think, say what somebody else thinks, also say maybe what you don't like to do with your friends, just to extend it a little bit further. Then you'll always have a different tense. So this one is ¿Qué hiciste en tu tiempo libre el verano pasado? What did you do in your free time last summer? So you could then, again, don't just answer the question. Don't just say, for example, fui a la playa. That would be a really, really minimal answer. So use the past tense and then, so say, for example, yeah, you could say fui a la playa con mi familia y jugamos al voleibol, jugamos al tenis, visitamos una ciudad interesante, say what you ate, say what you drank. These ones are always good to mention monumentos históricos, to mention la playa, for example, or la piscina, to mention the cinema, to mention a restaurant, anything like that, where you're going to be able to vary that vocabulary for all sorts of different tenses and all sorts of different contexts. And then you have the two other remaining questions. So here we have, en el futuro, ¿te gustaría ir a un concierto? ¿Te gustaría más ir a un concierto o escuchar música en casa? ¿Por qué? Now these answers don't need to be as detailed. They're the unknown ones. You're not expected to give a really detailed answer for these. However, obviously answer the question and say why. If you don't understand or if you can't hear, it's fine to say repite por favor to your teacher, okay? Or just repite. That would be fine. And hopefully your teacher will be speaking nice and slowly. So would you prefer to go to a concert or listen to music at home? So depending on what your answer is, use the question to help you form your answer. So me gustaría más, and then decide. So ir a un concierto porque es más divertido, o escuchar música en casa porque es más relajante. Okay, es más guay. Guay is always a really, really useful adjective. Flipante also. Describe tu programa de televisión favorito. And then you could mention Friends, for example. Mi programa de televisión favorito se llama Friends y es muy cómico. Okay. Mi programa de televisión favorito es Peep Show porque es flipante. Okay. And then you will get marked out of 15. So this is the exam marking criteria. So the role play is marked out of 2 marks per utterance and then 5 marks for overall accuracy and quality of language. The speaking photo card is marked out of 15 and it's marked globally. So you've got 1 mark for the whole thing, for the whole 5 questions. And it's just whether you reply to all the questions clearly and you develop most answers and you give and explain opinions. And then you reply to all or nearly all questions clearly and develop some answers. And then obviously it goes down and you can pause the video here and have a look at this mark scheme. So I hope that's been helpful and please get in touch if you have any other questions. Good luck, adios.